In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I color grade outdoor portraits and also try to give you guys some tips as well for color grading outdoor portraits and like what I'll try to keep in mind during my whole process when color grading images like this. So the first thing I like to do is do the minor adjustments here with the shadows, highlights, exposure and contrast. So one thing I like to do is lift my shadows up to bring more details in the skin or to like make the shadows look like less dark than they are right now. Then the highlights as well. I like to reduce the contrast a bit to not make it too shadowy. Then the blacks to bring in that contrast. And then also I like to add a bit of clarity as well. So while editing images, you know that if your clarity is too much, it's most of the time it ruins the image. So what I like to do is just a little of that clarity, since at the end of the day it makes it sharper. So you can see what too much clarity does to your image. So I like to keep it around like 5 or 10 at the max. And then I'm going back to my contrast. And at this point, I like to reference the before image to make sure that I'm not doing anything too drastic to the image. So as you guys can see here, so far the image is looking softer than it was, and I feel like this is the kind of look I'm trying to go for here. So let's continue with the whole process. I'll be adjusting the exposure a little bit to see if I need that to be up. So I think around there looks cool. And then for my temperature, when color grading dark skin, what I like to do with my temperature is I try to increase the temperature a bit. That way it makes the skin look a bit more brown, and it brings out the color of the skin more, rather than like the opposite way everything will look like too cold. So you wouldn't want that for your image, especially since it's outdoor. You would want it to show that, oh yeah, the outside, the sun is shining, and all of that. Anyways, I'll Ctrl Z and then I'll reduce it a bit, not make it too much. Just try to increase this a little bit, then we'll see where we go from there. So moving on, next thing I like to do at this point is reduce the saturation a little bit so the colors aren't too in your face. But this is the point where you try to keep the balance between the colors popping and then it's not being too much in your face. So you should try to keep that in mind. And also one of the major things you should be looking at while editing portraits like this is definitely the skin tone, because you don't want it to be like washed out. At the same time, you don't want it to be too oversaturated and in your face. So that's the number one thing I like to look at while editing images like this, is the skin tone, to make sure that it's still there somehow. And then you can see the color of the skin be the center of the image. Right here, I increase my vibrance a bit to bring back some of those colors. Next thing I would like to do here is put the points in my RGB curve. So what I like to do here is leave the blacks a bit to give it that a little bit of faded look. Then I don't want it to be too contrasty, so I'm just going to leave this around here for now. So I think I'm going to bring the blacks back down a bit for this image. Let's look at before and after of what's going on so far. And then for the midtones, we want to keep a balance around here. And then for the highlights, we want to bring it, we don't want it to be like too shouty, so we want to bring it down a bit to like create a balance in the colors and not make the highlights too blown out, and so the focus could still be on the model's face. So before and after, then reduce the whites a bit. So let's reference the original image as well. So as you guys can see, so far I've been able to make the colors look less in your face. So that's basically like the color correction so far. Don't not make it too shouty, just being able to create a balance between the two images. So I'll move over to my blue in my RGB curve, and then I'll reduce the contrast a bit. And what this does is adds a little bit of red, but then it looks kind of brown. So it's like, that's one thing I try to do in my images. As you guys can see, that's like a little bit of brown to the image as well, and the shadows in general. So that's what I try to do here, is try to add that little bit of red to the shadow, which kind of like makes the skin looks more brown. How I try to explain this is We all know that the skin is made up of red and yellow basically, and orange as well, which is a combination of red and yellow. So what I try to do here is adjust all those values to make sure that they affect the skin the right way. So we all know that in the tone curve, if we move this up, there's going to be blues added to the shadows, or while moving this down, there's going to be red added to the shadows. What I try to do is add a little bit of that to make sure the skin pops a bit more. Moving on, I'm going to go to my red channel, and what I want to do here is add a little bit of blue to the highlights. And with the red channel now, what I'll be doing is going the opposite way, going down, so that way a little bit of blues are added to the highlights. I'll be adding my points here, and then bringing this down. That way it looks a bit colder than it was and not too like warm and in your face. So trying to create a balance there, like I said. Let's look at the image so far. This before and after. As you guys can see, the color grading is really coming to play. It's looking softer and it's looking more easy on the eyes as well. Another thing I like to do in my image is like reduce the yellows a bit. I know that I said the skin made up of red and yellow spots, so that's why I try not to make it too serious. Reduce the yellows a bit, and what this does, it like helps in, you know, reducing a bit of that warmness and not make it too warm. Just make it a bit cleaner. So if you reduce this all the way, you can see how it has given it a different look entirely. But I'm sure this has affected the skin tone a bit. So what I like try to do is leave it around this range. And then all the colors, I don't want to be too shouty. Those are the colors I'm going to be like touching right here. But first thing I want to do here is adjusting the greens to see what works and what I like so far. So I'm going to like keep the greens kind of where they are already. So I'm just going to make the greens a bit more green. And then for the blues, I'm going to keep them around here to give it a little bit of that teal look to the blues in the image. So yeah, at this point, the next thing we're going to be doing here is the split toning. For my shadows, I like to keep it around this number. Why I do this is it's like the color close to the skin tone, and like I mentioned earlier, I try to like keep emphasis on the skin in this case and make sure that the colors of the skin are popping a bit more. So this kind of helps with that. And then for my highlights, what I try to do is I try to like go through my highlights and try to pick a cool color to complement the image. So around here should work. And then I try not to make the number like way more than, you know, 10, 11 or 15. This is before and this is after. So as you guys can see, the image is really like bringing out its own look, and I think it's looking great so far. And then I would like to increase my sharpening a bit just to keep at that 50 range. So with my vignettes, what I like to do here is add a little bit of vignette, so I just reduce it a bit. So that way it brings much more focus to the model's face. And then another thing I like to do is increase my red primaries, my green as well. And then the blues should be like the opposite way a bit, to give that little bit of orange and teal look. I'm not making too much. I reduce the saturation here. And then reduce saturation here as well, and then here too. So as you guys can see, so far the image is really coming along well. So what I would like to do at this point is, I've done the color grading so far. What I like to do now is do a little bit of adjustments to the shadows, highlights as well, to make sure that, you know, like everything is balanced. So I'm going to reduce the exposure a little bit. So yeah, I think that's it. And then this, so far, this is the before and after of the image. As you guys can see, the whole color grading has really come along well. I think our skin tone is popping in this image, and I think everything looks great so far. So what I usually do from this point is I take it over to Photoshop where I do the skin retouching. So if you guys want a video where I do the skin retouching on this image, you guys can let me know in the comment below. Hope you guys love this video. Please subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.